programmer L3C, and the author of A Mother's Love. And in short, what all that means is I do career development for everyone, basically, and then I have a special niche for single mothers. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. Today, we are going to roll with time. I'm going to bring before you 3 speakers, each talking about a different aspect of entrepreneurship and financial literacy. What I ask is that you utilize the index card that you've been given to keep track of your questions. And then at the end of everyone's presentations, then we're going to have a panel and we'll have the opportunity to share those questions then. Sound fair?
Yes.
Just in case I miss anyone, we have the cubby hole for your coats, and then of course straight to the back on the left-hand side, that's the restroom. So we are live, so if you don't want to be on camera, then I would suggest that you need to move around and kind of utilize the alleyways. Fair?
Fair.
All right, so first I'm going to bring up Samara Moses. Samara is the founder of iHeart M3 Events. And each presenter will come up, they'll introduce themselves, and they'll tell you a little bit about their business, and then we will just flow from there. All right?
Okay.
Samara, come on up.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Catherine. All right, so we're going to have a nice regular chat this morning, right? Okay. So, hello to our live viewers. And pretty much where I want to get started is I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself, and then I want to really dive into, as women, how do we really solidify ourselves in business? How do we get started, right? We have these thoughts, these goals, and these dreams, but how do you get it in motion, okay? So as Catherine mentioned, my name is Samara Moses. I'm the CEO and owner of iHeart M3 Events. We are a boutique event planning service. So where you think of event planning as someone that will recreate this beautiful, venue and room, we do more ticketed events. So I want to get you out to these wonderful events and things that you're like, oh, I want to go there, I want to travel here, I want to do this. But sometimes you just don't know where to get started. And so my business, we specialize in doing suite and luxury events, as well as family and individual group events, corporate events, and also with families, okay? So that's pretty much what our mission is to really get people outside of their 4 walls and work with you on how you can enjoy life and enjoy some of these wonderful events affordably, right? Because that's the other part of it. We want to do things, but we don't know always how to afford it or how to plan ahead. So what I want to discuss with you guys about is really how do you get going? How do you get started? And I have my little notes here, so I'm not being rude. I'm just looking down, making sure that I touch on everything that I want to share with you guys. So I gave you guys another index card. Great minds think alike, Catherine, the whole index card thing. But what I want you to write on your index card, and for those of you that are viewing, you can take out a sheet of paper and write this down as well. I want you to write down, what is your mission? What do you want to do in life, this month, this year? What do you want to do? And as you think about that and as you write that, the background of that is a lot of times nobody asks us, or we don't ask ourselves, right? And so if we find ourselves spinning the wheel, right, a lot of times we haven't really asked ourselves or thought about it. And you gotta write those things down, right? You gotta be able to see it, speak it, hear it, remind yourself about it. So just write down, what is your mission? If it's just this week, if it's this month, if it's this year. Okay? And then on the back, write your contact information. We're going to talk about accountability, but I want you to write down your contact information, name, phone number, and email, and your best availability, because with accountability means that you will be held accountable, right? So I am challenging myself and challenging each other to be accountable partners, okay? So write down your name, contact, your name, phone number, and email, as well as your availability. And you're writing on the front of that card what you want to do. What is your mission for 2020? share our link, guys, so we can be able to present this amazing event to all of you all at home. Everybody got enough time? So, let me give you guys a little backstory, right? How did I even get here? How are we even here? So, as a business owner, I've done many different things over the years to kind of, hone in my entrepreneurialness, right? I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, because I've always been kind of that go-getter, that person that worked the job and, had the job and got paid my 2 weeks and did what I did, but I also wanted to do more. I knew that I had so many other gifts and dreams and goals, and let's be real. We can't go to school for everything, right? Are you all one of those people that really were interested in a lot of stuff? But it's not like you can have triple majors. We have time, energy, or money, right? But we have really a vast, interest in many different things. So I did the traditional route. Went to school, got my degree, got 2 degrees. Went and got my master's in counseling. So I have a background in counseling and therapy. So I did all that stuff that people say, that society says. You go to school, you get the education, you get out, you get a good job. I followed that path. But then about 13 years in, I was like, okay, I'm over this. I've been working since 16. It was my first job working at the mall in high school. So, it's like, okay, at 16 and then 13 years later, after a couple of degrees, you're like, what's next? I need to be doing something more. And I was recently reminded of a conversation that I had with, I guess, family members or friends of the family. And they had told me, they said, I remember when you were in undergrad, you were 20, and I'd asked you what were you going to do in life, and they said, you said that you were going to be retired by age 50. And I was like, yeah, at 20, 50 is old, right? At 20 years old, 50 is old. That's 30 years of a whole lot of stuff to be doing. So now, kind of being 13 years shy of that age, you kind of like, oh, where did time go? But guess what, guys? I'm still going to be retired at 50. So here's the thing. You got to shift your mindset, right? So I did the traditional route. I did all this stuff. I've been working in business, doing a little bit. And I made a decision that I'm just not going to be working for an employer for the rest of my life, right? Let's talk about what that entails. So that entails, you're getting up, you're going to the workhouse, to the workplace, you're loving your job, you're gratified, you're fulfilled, and you're working these 40 hours, right, or more, right? As a therapist, I've been doing way more than 40 hours, right? Because it's always the after-hour times and all of that stuff. And then if you have family, you have other obligations, organizations, community service, church ministries, things like that. If you just do a quick numbers crunch of time, that's a lot of time that's just taken away. And so we kind of get into this cycle that we're doing the same monotonous thing, and you look up and it's the new year and you really haven't accomplished anything on your to-do list that you wanted to do last year. Not that you didn't desire, but you simply didn't have time. And oftentimes, because you didn't have time, you didn't have money, right? Because you're trying to pay the normal monthly expenses and bills and requirements and all of that stuff. And so what I want to speak to you guys about is how do you define your life? So my beautiful topic that I was given was your life, your business, your terms, okay? So I would like for you guys to jot down a few notes about these three different areas. So in your life, we've already said, you've written down what you want, right? Now, raise of hands. Who works a 9 to 5? Okay. Business owner, keep them up. Are you a business owner? Are you a stay-at-home mom? caregiver, someone in leadership. Okay. Yeah. Keep them up.
I'll keep them up.
I'm naming all of these different things. You know, if any of this fits you, and you guys think about this at home, keep your hands up. Okay. Single mom, single parent. Okay. So if you look around, you're amongst like-minded individuals, right? We all have some level of responsibility. So you have to know why. What is your why? Okay? When you want to get into doing something different, you have to, one, write down what it is that you want, and then two, what is your why? Which that means what is your motivation to do what it is you want to do, attain, attached to that goal, all right? So your why could be a number of things. My why are my children, you know, so that they won't struggle like me. I lost my mom at 12. Can you imagine that, right? How that shakes your world up. And I had a great support system, a great village in place that was able to keep me stable, but that is still a big part of me that is no longer there. So I've realized in my journey that my motivation, my drive, my grit is a little different because I've lost so much at a young age. And so the body, the mind, you know, I bring the therapy part of it in. You know, once you've had something like that happen to you, you are always going to kind of be resilient against yourself. Your body doesn't want to allow you to have those kind of catastrophes happen again. So that's kind of been my mantra, you know, like, okay, I need to do everything within my abilities to make sure that I'm setting myself in the right position. Now along the way, you know, you make errors and you have faults and things like that. And whatever your spiritual connection is, you know, you hone into that. And that's what kind of keeps you going. But you have to know your why. You have to let that why motivate you, right? It has to fuel your energy. It has to drive your path. Because if you don't know what you want and then know why you want it, you're going to be floating carelessly, okay? As women, we are naturally and innately the tone setters. Would you guys agree? Mm-hmm. Right? Households, spouses, you know, whatever leadership role, whatever career path you're on, whatever you're doing, we set the tone. That's just it. That's just all. And we have to accept that. And I know a lot of times we feel like it's too much on us, but that is such a great responsibility, right? And the way in which you can turn some of the negativity of that into a positive is just recognizing the strength and working within your strength and within your boundaries, right? So part of your life, we're still under your life, you have to set boundaries with yourself, with people, with situations, right? So you gotta know what you want, you have to know your why, and then you have to set boundaries. Because if you don't have boundaries in place, things can come in and out. Think about the line in the sand, right? If you don't draw that line in the sand, everything is a go. And that's not exactly what we desire. We all have been there, okay? We don't have to raise hands. We all have been there or are still there, still trying to define that one part of life that still has loose boundaries. But you gotta get firm in that, okay? And you have to get comfortable in saying no. And it's a nice way to say no. No. With a smile, you know, but really mean no. You know, you have to really be set in saying no, okay? And then as we move on to your business, repeat this after me. Have a plan.
Have a plan.
Always work your plan.
Always work your plan.
Have a plan.
Have a plan.
Always work your plan.
Always work your plan.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Okay? The plan changed. Things happen, life happens, death happens, job loss happens, births, marriages, relocation, layoffs, terminations, illnesses, all that. It's a part of life, right? But if you stick to your plan, you can get right back on track. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So we move into your business. Think about this. So you have these goals, dreams, you've written down what it is you want to do. And so now you gotta figure out how to implement this, right? I wanna do this, how do I get started? But think about this. Would you rather want 100% of yourself or 1% of 100 people?
You want 100% of yourself.
Really?
I don't think so. Because
Think
you
about
want
that.
1% of everybody, that's not a lot out of them, though. Or unless you're just trying to
Yeah.
get to the most people.
That's a very good way. That's a very good way to process that question. Because I too said I want 100% of myself. Because in this society, in our culture, we are ingrained to think that we have to give it our all. But guess what? You can never give 100% of yourself. Then where does that leave everything else?
Both equal 100 though.
Yeah, but if you have, if it's just you, and you're giving all of you, I didn't say 50, 60, 70, 30%, I said 100%. If you're giving 100% of all of you, is that really realistic? Now, it can be like that for a short amount of time, but will it last? Right? You're gonna get burned out, right? We can go down the line. So if you have 1% of 100 people, it's more of a team effort. So now as we get into talking about your business, you have to understand that business is a relationship. It's a relationship builder. You have to network, you have to link, you have to share resources, you have to build a team. Build what you want so that you can still achieve your goals, but it's not always on you. Because if you transition from employee, right, doing everything for the manager and the bosses and working 40 plus hours, and then you come into business and you maintain for the totality of your business 100%, you're gonna have to give 100%, don't get me wrong. But if you maintain that, that's gonna be a quicker burnout because you don't have the supportive overhead. You don't have necessarily, the office building right away and the bills paid for. At our jobs, we just show up. We don't even think about some of the things that we would have to do as a business owner or the things that we manage in our households. But could you imagine if you're managing your household and everything under that, plus your own business and everything under that equally for 35 years? Is that realistic? So these are the conversations that we're having. You have to have these realistic conversations. Because once you identify what you want, what's your why, and how you're going to attack it, you can understand your strategy and how you can be successful, okay? Most businesses fail within 1 to 3 years. And that is statistic. I've had a failed business prior to. And I can look back and see the things that I didn't know. Sometimes you don't know, and you fail because you simply don't know. And then when you come into knowing something different, you can kind of recreate it, right? So you have to understand that you want to network. If you're a person that's shy and really in your shell, that's got to be something that you've got to work on, depending on what your business is. You have to be willing to do that. Business owners in the room, would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could anything be successful without networking and linking and opening your mouth and saying good morning and saying hi and follow-ups? It has to be done, right? So the other part about your business, be the kind of employee or manager that you wish you had. Be the kind of employee or manager you wish you had. We all have worked for piss poor co-workers and managers throughout our lives, right? And they were straight from the pits of hell, right? Devils, right? And think about that. I know for me, I'll speak for me. Those situations, those people predict the outcome of me staying with or progressing with that company. Because people will often move you before the job will, right? We love our job, but sometimes you get so tied up in dealing with the people. So as you transition from employee to business owner or self-employed or entrepreneur, all those wonderful words, Be the employee or the manager you wish you had. So when you start networking and you want to bring on your own employees, being the type of boss chick, lady chick, CEO, all those little cute hashtags, be the person that you wish you had. Because that is what's going to sustain your business. Customer service is number one. Number one. You have got to provide customer service. You have got to learn how to deal with those very difficult people, those irrational, unrealistic people, those crazy people. You gotta deal with them. You gotta deal with them, okay? And you want to make sure that the ones that support you in whatever business venture that you do, that you show appreciation to them, that you show proper gratitude to them, and that you thank them for supporting your business. Because as small business owners, that is really the grassroots of economics, you know, and we're slowly coming back to, or I guess slowly rising to being recognized in terms of state, federal levels, all of that kind of stuff. But it is the foundation of small businesses that really has communities and cities thrive, right? We gotta be real about that. Like this space that we're in, this is a small business owner, right? That is allowing us to be in this beautiful space. You live in the area, you never knew it was here. Now you're possibly going to patronize this business. So it is important to know who and what's in your midst, okay? You guys staying with me?
Yeah.
You guys staying with me? Okay. The other thing from switching from employee to business owner, you must be willing to invest in yourself. You must be willing to invest in yourself. An investment means dollars, means money. You gotta bet on yourself. Yeah, you gotta bet on yourself, okay? So that same 40 plus hours that you give to that employer is the same that you have to devote to your business. Prior to me leaving corporate America, I was working my business in the mornings before I started my job, during my lunch, sometimes doing workouts, and definitely after work, burning the midnight oil to get things set up. You have to be willing to do that. You know, one day loss is one day of no growth when you're a business owner, okay? And maintain self-care, right? So we have all of this, you know, whether you are still an employee and you want to desire to stay an employee and do some other things on the side, you want to figure out how to, you know, get your money to work better for you. Whatever your angle is, make sure that you do not forget about self-care, whatever that may be. Favorite movie, favorite downtime, favorite meal, spa treatment, go get your hair done, take a time to just have no TV, read a book, take a vacation, turn your phone off, whatever that is for you. Implement that and keep that going because that rejuvenates you, okay? And I've too been on the side of letting things work, and then having breakdowns, you know? And that's a part of life, right? Stressful moments bring that, but if you can keep that at the forefront of your mind, then you're good. So what do we say? Have a plan, always work your plan. Repeat that.
Have a plan, always work your plan.
One more time.
Have a plan, always work your plan.
So, in closing, I want to leave this with you guys. Somebody sent me a random link just last night. Different like self-development, you know, you want to listen to powerful people, you want to kind of, you know, have something in place that's going to pump you up. Because we don't always wake up ready to like hit the door blazing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you really need to pick me up. You need some gospel music, you need something, you know. I have even recorded myself like, go girl, you gonna go out there and kill it. You know, I have done that. Like for real, seriously, you gotta psych yourself up. You gotta be on cheerleader. So what I was listening to last night was, and I love Denzel Washington. He is so powerful. If you guys have ever heard of any videos, any motivational speeches that he's done a bunch of graduations. you know, and has really laid some nuggets on people. And I came across this video last night, and this is what he said. He said, a dream without a goal is just a dream. Reaching your goal requires discipline. A dream without a goal is just a dream. Reaching your goal requires discipline. So you want to have your plan, you want to know what you want, you want to know your why, you want to have your plan, and you want to go after it. You want to be disciplined in whatever it takes to do that. You know, setting those weekly, monthly, yearly goals, whatever it will take to get you to that point. So last time, have a plan. Always work your plan. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Samara, for that. Thank you for the introduction to I Heart M3 events. We have an inside joke because I always want to make it I love. Yeah. So when you saw me pause, that's what it's a natural tendency for me to say I love, and she's like, no, it's I heart, right? But us small business owners are sensitive about our brands, so you gotta get those names right? So something I want to piggyback in regards to what Samara said. One thing that she did not share with you guys is her business started from a need, right? Her business started from a hobby as well. She mentioned the wanting to be financially independent by about the age of 50 and to retire, but she didn't tell you that I Heart M3 events started from a group, and she transitioned it into a business because she saw the value there, right? She had already worked her market up. If I'm not mistaken, the group had in excess of 1,000 members. Somewhere along those lines, she had built that network just by doing something in her spare time that she was not profiting from. She's a mom. She's a married mom, and she wears 38 different hats because she's also a momager too. But at that time, she was a working mom. She had kids. Her kids are in all type of activities. She was trying to figure out, you know, like what other moms could do because we don't have time. We're limited in time, and we're also limited in the resources. So she turned her hobby into a very lucrative business. And I share that with you because that is a similarity to a lot of us too. Some of us kind of threw it, we were thrown into it. I ended up doing resumes and cover letters and LinkedIn profiles because it's something that I did from a professional space and my regular 9 to 5. It's something that was easy for me and I enjoyed it. I got laid off, and it was a way for me to bring in extra income. I'm like, I might as well monetize this. And then it turned into me creating the space that I have now where I support single mothers and I offer these workshops for free, right? So there is something that you all have inside of you that you would do for free, that you're good at, that you can monetize. But that's a part of that conversation that you need to have with yourself and see if you're ready to make that shift from an employee to an entrepreneur. Fair?
Fair.
All right. So coming to the stage next, Jade Cross French. She is our millennial on the platform, and she is going to have a conversation with you about the insurance that you don't have to die to use.
Okay, so I am going to pass out just the little takeaways that I created for you guys, which is going to be mostly is what I talked about with you guys. I want to be very interactive. I want to know if you guys have any questions. I know we're going to have a panel, but I do want to, just to find out what you guys know about insurance already. So before we get into that, I do want to introduce myself. My name is Jade Cross French. I am the Millennial Economic Innovator. I am founder of an organization, Young Gifted Hustler. I started it in 2017 after leaving my job at the bank after I was introduced to the insurance industry. I felt like insurance was going to take me high and I could do this on my own. I could create my own lane. I just needed a part-time job that I ended up getting fired from, like maybe after 6 months of doing my own thing. So it was a learning experience. So all 2018, I was an insurance agent for a company that you have to drive around and knock on doors for, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. So I just was, looking for another source of income. So I utilized my unemployment after I was, done like working, and I just pretty much continued with the Young Gifted Hustler. It started as an event, a business expo that I hosted in 2017, and I just kept growing from there. So I've hosted from that time up until now about 8 events, and I've done a lot of financial literacy workshops with the Salvation Army, the Ounce of Prevention for Young Mothers, and my goal is, to educate and develop the young millennial entrepreneur so we can be prepared for life. Because some things when we run into like the world, it's like hard to cope, it's hard to like push through. And being a young mama of 2, almost 3 now, it was just like, how I'm gonna do this? Is my dream gonna be deferred? But it has not been, because this has been my dream since I was in 10th grade, to start an organization centered around sociology, psychology, and business. So I stand here before you today, and that is my testimony of what I do. So now, I want to know what you guys know about insurance. So does anybody want to tell me who has insurance? Life insurance. Okay. Do you guys put insurance on your kids at all? Okay. So term policies. Do you guys know the differences between policies, or do you think it's just one insurance?
I don't know the difference.
You guys don't know the differences? Okay. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about today. Yes.
Is there a difference between term and whole life?
There is. So we can go ahead and we can go dive into that a little bit, because I do. My first point, if you look at your cards, I want you to know your options. So listed here, it's the name of all of the insurance products that I deal with personally. So there is term insurance, there is whole life insurance, there's universal life insurance. I didn't put variable universal life insurance because I try not to touch that too much. But I also do index universal life insurance, which is one of my favorites to just talk about, because that's the innovative product, and I am the millennial economic innovator. So I want to show people, different ways you can grow your money utilizing an insurance product without investment or anything like that. Because you can still have the term, because term it actually works for some people. It's actually a better one, and whole life too. Some people, they cash out their whole life policy. So let me tell you what these are. I think I'm jumping in the deep end already. So with the term insurance is anywhere from 10 to 35 years with some companies of insurance. It's a small premium because you don't have it for the rest of your life. So it's locking in your age, and it's also less liabilities for you to, get sick on down the line, because it's going to be gone within 35 years, depending on what you choose. Whole life is a permanent insurance. So it's based off of when you get it. It'll be lower, but if you get it when you're older, it'll cost just a little bit more, and that's with any kind of insurance. But with the whole life, it grows cash value. That's the kind of insurance policies our grandmas have. My grandmother has. So when something go wrong, they have like maybe it doesn't grow money as rapidly as the other products that I want to tell you about, but it can grow about like $5,000 depending on how much you're paying. So that's whole life. It's a permanent insurance that grows cash value over time. The next one is universal life. So universal life, it grows your money with the stock market, as well as it's a permanent insurance. So you have it forever, but it grows your money with the stock market. And you have the floor that protects the money when it grows, but when it goes down, there's a floor that it won't drop below. So your money won't grow anymore when the market stops growing, but when it goes up, your money starts growing again. So, and that's again with the IUL. That's my favorite. I came into the IUL when I was like about to give up on insurance. Cause I'm like, I didn't like that door knocking and that type of thing. So I met with a company that I'm affiliated with, and they taught me about living benefits. My grandmother had just had a stroke in October. I met these people in May of 2018. My grandmother had the stroke in 2017 of October. So to see her struggling was kind of hard for me because I was the one that kind of helped her out with everything, and I had to go, me and my kids. So it wasn't just me, it was my kids, and it was hectic, and then I got a man at home, and it was too much. So it was like, okay, if I was able to get this for her or tell her about this, her life would be completely different. So that's what gave me the passion to, teach people about an IUL. How many people knows what an IUL is? Okay, so it's a Index Universal Life product if you guys want to write it down, because I think that's important to look into. Index Universal Life Insurance. Yes. And it protects you if you have cancer, get diagnosed with cancer, heart attack, or stroke. The company that I like to promote for that, it gives you up to 70% of your face amount. Now those are a little bit more costly, but if you have a $100,000 policy and you get diagnosed with a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, you can accelerate up to 70%, which is $70,000 if you were to fall ill, and that will help you pay for your rent, whatever you need to do to take care of in that time that you are sick. So if my grandmother had that, I'm like, man, it would be so much different. So now I have a passion for educating people about that particular product. And then it also grows your money. By the age of 66, they calculate what you have when it's time to retire, and then you'll have money coming to you in your retirement based off of the cash value that accumulated by the time you were 66 and it was time to retire. So it's a vehicle if you live too long, if you die too soon, and if you become ill. So that fills in the gaps for everything. So instead of having, disability insurance here and, depending on your job for everything, because who knows how long you're going to be at your job, what can you do to protect yourself in case any of these things happen? So I am so passionate about that product, but it's what works best for you at that time, what you can do. So my thing to you guys is, if you are looking for an insurance product, you really need to evaluate, like, what are you looking to do? Are you looking to just have some protection and just have like some money, on the side just in case you need to go get it? Or are you just looking for something to leave to your family so that when it's time for you to go, or when you leave this world, that they can have something, Or do you just want to have your burial expenses? Like, you don't have to take care of everybody. So it's just, depending on what you want to do, there's an insurance out there for everything that you are looking for. So when people, they don't give you options, make sure now you have different options for insurance. The next thing I want to tell you guys about, which is my favorite, because I am the mother of 2 3/4. It's almost time, y'all. I got 3 more weeks. But they're 3, 2, and this will come right after their birthday. So all Pisces babies. But what insurance can do for them, especially the IUL, it can create $1 million baby. So it's on here. If you guys want to read it, I'll read it out loud. It says an IUL for a child gives you the opportunity to leverage a small amount of after-tax money while your child is still a child into a lifetime tax-free financial benefit to maximize the benefits for college and prepare your children for the milestones we wish we could have been prepared for. So when it's time to go to college, your child can, take out like from 18 to 22 of that IUL I was just telling you about, they can take out 10,000 a year to put towards college. Now, it may not be a whole bunch to them at that time, but you can create wealth for your children while they're still young. And that's just like the beauty of insurance. Some people, they do like the 529 plan, but that, if it's not used for educational purposes, you're getting taxed on it. Everything that you get from an IUL product is tax-free. It's a tax advantage, and mostly the rich people know about it because we're not being educated in our own communities about what, you know, these products are. We just know what's grandfathered to us and just passed down, and we do it because it's tradition. But it's a new day, it's a new age, and things are changing. How you gonna protect yourself in this ever changing? Because if you get cancer, back then you was more likely to die, but today you're more likely to live. So what you gonna do when you living with cancer? You can't work, you ain't got no income, you done exhausted your little, you know, Social Security check is getting lower and lower. And you know, by the time my kids get that up my age, I'm only 23, they probably ain't gonna even have no Social Security check. So the way the government is changing, the way things are changing, it, you know, it's an important thing to know that's out there. And lastly, what I want to talk to you guys about, I don't want to hold you. If you guys have any questions about what I just told you after this, you can ask me. But if you guys are thinking about joining the financial industry, is anybody in the audience thinking about joining the financial industry at all? Okay.
I'm in the financial industry, but I'd like to hear what, you know, about the company you're with.
Okay, I'm a broker, so I work with 2 different companies. So we can sit down and definitely have a conversation. My information is on here and we can talk afterwards. But this is just general information about the industry because there's so many options out there when it comes to the financial industry. So of course, you know, I want you to come work with me or, you know, but it's so many different ways to take the approach. So you might not want to take my approach in the insurance industry. You might want to go to an agency because it's still money to be made. The financial industry is one of the most lucrative industries, and the industry's not going to die because everybody's going to need to bury. When you die, you got to go somewhere. So people are going to forever get some life insurance, and some people don't even know the importance of having it. So just to be able to, you know, be in the industry to educate people, to prepare them is, you know, you have to really have a passion for it because if you don't, you're going to flop because it ain't always, it's not peachy cream. It is not peachy cream. It is time where it is so dry, you're like, dang. But then that's when you find out there's other sources of income out here that I can do until this start popping again. So, yeah, so I'm just telling you guys that you could work for yourself, you could work part-time, is licensing included. You have to, like if you decide to be an independent broker, it's an insurance you have to get on yourself to protect your business, which Samara was talking about. So it's businesses out here they got the overhead, they got everything that you need already. But if you go into the brokerage life, you're gonna have to, you know, invest in yourself 10 times more than you invested into that MLM. So it's different ways. I started with an MLM. I didn't even have to pay my own test fees because I tested high in the class when I was in it, and the company I was with paid for it. So it's about being resourceful as well. So it just all depends on how you want to start. But it's a very lucrative industry. Say for instance, I got a $300 policy. You pay me $300 every month for your savings, for your retirement, and for, you know, the policy I was just telling you about. I'm starting at 55% of 300 times 12. That's $1,650 for my pocket. That goes to me. That's $1,600. How long is it gonna take you to make $1,600? You can find somebody, a business owner. You can find business owners that need insurance for all their employees. So yeah, that's money to be made. It's a lucrative industry. Your pockets can be fat. You have to have the resilience for it. You have to have the drive to continue to go and keep pushing, especially if you know it's something that's gonna help people. Because you gotta learn too. You gotta learn what it is that you're doing as well. And you have to become confident in what you're telling people about when it comes to insurance. So the industry, it ain't an easy thing, but it's a lucrative business that can stack your pockets when it's time. So that's pretty much my piece. And if you had any questions, you could go ahead and ask me. Yes.
I didn't have any questions, but I did want to just share with you as well. I've been an insurance agent for 18 years now. And one of the things that I use with the IUL also is with my millennials, I show them where they can use that policy in order to fund their business, as well as to invest into property and any
Yes.
other investment. And when you're using that as an investment tool, it's also tax-free when you take that money out because it's being used for investment. And so it allows them to grow a cash account to help fund that business or real estate property without having to worry about having an 800 credit score,
Yeah.
or without having to worry about whether or not a bank is going to approve you for a loan, because now they also have just self-funded themselves. And so it is indeed a wonderful product, and yeah, it's the best.
Yes, I think so too. But we can't be biased because it ain't gonna be always for
It doesn't work
everybody.
for everyone.
It does
Like
not.
I said, everyone's situation is absolutely different, but if you have small children, and I'm not on the panel, so forgive me, but if you have small children, you can indeed create $1 million babies. My grandson is now 5. I took out a policy for him, only $50,000, but at the time, my grandfather passed at 95. If my grandson lasts to 95, he'll have $1.4 million. And that's on top of what he's already accumulating as a working individual
Yes.
and building his retirement fund on his own.
Uh-huh.
So when positioned properly, you can indeed create generational wealth, which is something in our community that has been suffering for far too long. Not because we don't want that generational wealth, but because we don't have the people out there on the front line giving us the information so that we can remove ourselves from that poverty level and to create generational wealth within our families. So yeah, absolutely, insurance can change your life,
It
not
really
just put
can.
you in the ground.
It definitely can. So that was powerful. Gave me goosebumps. And I'm hungry. So,
We
but
have a
yeah,
question.
It definitely is. So I'm partnering with you, ladies. And we can there.
My partner is stepping in the door over there, so we'll just.
Okay, man, I'm away. So yeah, okay, and
That's a really,
yeah.
you mentioned before about your grandmother, and the type of policy that she had. Like, did you guys end up, or what, did she just keep the old one?
So with insurance, when you have, they call it pre-existing conditions. So when you have a stroke or something like that, some insurance companies, they don't accept it because when you get insurance, they look at your medical records.
Yeah.
Sometimes they gotta come poke you depending on what type of policy you have to get your blood to make sure you ain't smoking, you ain't got this, you ain't got that, you human, that type of thing. So she wants another policy because the whole life she had to resort to it to get that cash value out and the policy gone now. So now she's without insurance. So now I'm looking for somebody who does the insurance, like the Medicaid insurance that people, older people get until I can give her a better policy. You got some of that? Alright, cool. So yeah, good. Cause we networking and linkage tomorrow cause some good basics. I wish we was talking about some business development, brand and stuff today, but we're gonna stick to the script today. And that's something we'll talk about, at another later time. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to teach you today. Everything that I said is mostly on the little pamphlet if you wanted to schedule a time to meet with me. Give me till like maybe 5 weeks after we can have a phone conversation, and maybe up to the 23rd. That's when I say I'm gonna sit down because I'm due there next week. So I have an office at home. So if you guys wanted to, sit down and talk to me, I'll invite you to my office and we can talk more about, what we can do if you wanted to collaborate or anything like that. I love collaboration. I host events, did I tell y'all I host events?
Yeah.
I love hosting events. So, yeah, that's me. That's Millennial Economic Innovation and insurance you don't have to die to use. Thank y'all.
One quick question. So there was a question from the live, and they wanted to know about penalties with withdrawals. So can you cover that real quick before you wrap up?
Okay, so with withdrawals, let me tell y'all something. This is a good one. This is like the insurance company that I work with, one of them. When you have the policy for 1 year and you become unemployed, there's the unemployment benefit rider where they waive the surrender charge, where you can start accessing your cash value. So I don't know how some other companies work, but there's ways that we could figure it out, because just like those people, they know the loopholes and stuff, we gonna figure out some loopholes to make it work. So that's that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for that. That was a very, very informative session, so we appreciate you.
Something I wanted to address. Do not ever apologize for sharing knowledge, because that is why we're here, right? We're good at what we do, sure. That's why we're hosting the event, sure. But there's not a monopoly on knowledge. So anything that you guys have that is beneficial to the discussion, don't ever apologize for sharing it, because this is a welcome space, okay? So we're gonna keep it rolling, and we are going to bring Lenora Sherman to the stage. She is going to talk to you guys about real estate investments and wealth building. And I know Lenora, so she is going to introduce herself and she will take you through it.
Good morning, Queen. You guys gotta forgive me. I'm a little lively one, so today I want to be very informative. But I want to first introduce you to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Lenora Sherman. I affectionately go by several different names: Queen of Real Estate. I am your Oprah Real Estate. If you look me up on Instagram, you can find me as your real estate investment mogul. And just to give you a little bit about my background, I am a real estate developer. I own a construction company. I sell property. I do property renovations on single family as well as multifamily units. Hello, Facebook world. I know that Kathy has just went live, so hi. I am in love with real estate. I fell in love with real estate about the age of 16. And I grew up on the north side of Chicago, right here. This is my homeland in Uptown. I grew up right down the street, and I went to Mather High School. And one thing about going to Mather is it was a very diverse high school. Okay, there were not very many of us there. And those that were there, you have the haves and you have the have-nots. A lot of my classmates that were different, their parents invested in real estate. And I was like, ooh, I lived in an apartment growing up, but I wanted the big house. And I was just like, what do I gotta do to get me a big house like that? And one thing I learned was real estate was the way to build wealth. So when I turned 18, I bought my first house. Did not make a lot of money because I did not know what I was doing. However, I learned that there was money inside of real estate. And so today, Kathy said, Lenore, I want you to come to this workshop with me, and I want you to talk about wealth, and I want you to talk about real estate, because oftentimes people don't understand that through real estate, you can build wealth. And so right now, I own a real estate company. I build houses. I renovate them. This year, I'll be doing my first new construction property from the ground up, which I'm so excited to do, because it took me a while to get to that point to be able to have enough capital to build new construction. And a lot of people don't tell you that when you see all of these new construction buildings going up, it takes a lot of money to get to that point to build up new construction. So now that I've introduced myself, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys know about wealth management? And we can have questions at the end, so if I ask you something, that doesn't mean you have to just reply back to me, but I'm going to give you the answer anyway. So what wealth is, for most people that don't understand, right now we're living in this era where everybody, I want to become wealthy. I want to have money. I want to have all of these different things. And most people don't understand that wealth is an abundance. It's having more than enough of money or possessions of something that you can have as an asset. And most people don't realize that. And today, where we are today, people are barely making ends meet. They are one paycheck away from poverty. When the government shut down, people were really learning and seeing what struggle really is in today's day and age. One thing about me, sometimes in real estate you have good seasons and you have bad seasons. When it gets winter time, there may not be no sales. But what I've done for myself is I created a stream of income, which we call residual income, whereas even when I'm sleeping, I get mailbox money and I get money for doing nothing because I built that stream of income through real estate. People always ask me, Lenore, how do I make money through real estate? Because I don't have any money. Now, right now, today, you have a lot of people that come out and say, hey, I can teach you how to invest in real estate with no money and no credit. I am not that person. I teach people to invest inside of real estate through discipline, through structure, through investing. I am not the, let me wake up one day, you got good credit, let me just show you what you can do. My theory is really simple. You work hard, you stay disciplined, you learn, you can create wealth. So I do have a couple of notes here, and what I want to make sure I hit on some things that are very useful. One thing about me is today is Saturday, it's 7 degrees outside. Today is not a paid event, so for me, the purpose of me coming here is to make sure that I get everything that I possibly have inside of me in my 10-15 minutes and make sure that you guys have a really good understanding as to what wealth is, how you can get inside of real estate, and why I want you to learn. Back in the day, real estate investors and contractors did not look like me, a 40-year-old African-American woman from the south side of Chicago. Let's just be honest. They were Caucasian, they were probably male, and they did not look like me. Today is the new image of what a contractor, an investor, a rehabber, a flipper looks like. I am now the image. You are now the image. Chicago has some phenomenal women that are in this industry making some great strides and that are rebuilding up the blocks in Chicago. Without a fact, we are some movers and some shakers that are now here. My goal as an investor and more recently as an educator on real estate investing is to show you that the woman, how you can invest in real estate. I don't, like she explained, I don't do this just for myself, but I do it for my children, I do it for my family, I do it so that we don't have to have the struggles that we had in the past. One thing I tell people is, like Jay has explained to you about the struggles of her grandmother, I know for one, my grandmother left me a lot of love. That's what I got left. A lot of love and a lot of great memories. But the Bible says that a good Christian leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And oftentimes people don't really grasp that concept, or they understand it, but they don't have the ability to make it happen. So for me, my idea and my goal is to show you how you can make it happen too. And I share what I did with anybody, because oftentimes, as much as I share, that is so few times that people actually apply what it is that I share with them. I would give you the whole boat, the caboodle and everything, and give you the tools and say, hey, let's do it. And oftentimes people don't even pick it up just so they can do it. So I wanted to come here and give you some statistics, if that's okay, first, before I just jump into the meat and potatoes. So most people fail to realize that the Chicago median income is $60,000 a year. That's what Chicago median income is, okay? Middle income in Chicago is $43,000 to $120,000. That means if you're making over $43,000 inside of your household, you are middle income. For you to be in the top 1% of income makers in the United States of America, for the top 1%, you need to make, your household only needs to make $430,000 a year. For the top 1%. For you to be in the top 5%, your household only needs to make $225,000. For you to be in the top 10%, you only need to make $170,000. And for you to make your household to make more than 50% of Americans, you only need to make $58,000 a year. If you and your spouse bring in over $58,000 a year, you're already making more than 50% of Americans in the United States currently right now. Now, we are hardworking, we strive to get so much, and we often say, there just is not enough money. There's not enough money to go around. That is a fact, that is how we look at things, but this is the thing. A person that makes $100,000 not enough money. A person making $200,000 says it's not enough money. So if we're already making more than most people are making, the problem can't be the money. The problem has to be us. It really is. Because there's people that I know that don't make 1% of what I make and are happy as possible can be. And sometimes I look up and they have more money on certain days than people that make $200,000 because they know what to do with their money. It's not how much you make, it's what you do with what you make that makes the difference. And oftentimes we're in this era where it's more and more and more is better. We like labels, and I read T.I. post last night about Gucci and it made me laugh. And I put up hashtag no labels. We buy stuff, we like cars, we like houses, and we expect because we make more money that we should live different ways. But that is for the here and now. It does not prepare us for the future or for our children or the what ifs. And that's what I want to start to help people to understand, that because you make a lot of money today, you're not going to make a lot of money tomorrow. Our best years that we have, our best working years, 40 years. And if you're my age already, you're 1/3 already, best years is behind you. And that's the idea, is that by the time we develop the mentality of understanding what wealth is and understanding that we need to create it and that we need to start thinking outside of our 20s and start thinking about tomorrow, half our years are gone. And so now we're stuck with trying to play catch up when the time is down. Actually, the time is 10 years ago. But we can't do anything, we can't backtrack. So, I got that part. Currently, Chicago has a population of 2.7 million people. That's how many people live in Chicago right now. The depressing number that I want to talk about today is the number of renters we have in Chicago is 1.5 million. So out of all of these buildings in Chicago, all of these apartments and everything else, over half of our city have people who don't own any part of the city. So over 53% of Chicago has renters. The other 47% is owned by a landlord or a homeowner. The average home price in Chicago today is $225,000. That does not include the north side of Chicago where we're currently at right now, where the average home price is well over $600,000. So that means your average home price is taking the south side and the north side, combining them and making it a easy $225,000. But we also know that the south side of Chicago homes are a lot cheaper. In 1996, the average home price in Chicago was $140,000. So as we can see, in the last 20 years, the prices of a home has gone up, almost doubled. Now, I want to compare Chicago to a city in California, the Bay Area of Oakland. The reason I'm tying this for you guys to have an understanding is Oakland, California used to be a predominantly African American city. Back in 1996, let's go compare apple to apple. In 1996, the average home in Oakland, California was $170,000. It was predominantly African American. They had over a 95% African American population here. Today, currently in Oakland, there is a 37% of African Americans that are currently living inside of Oakland, California. Why? Because the average home price in Oakland, California right now today is $750,000 for you to buy one house in Oakland, California. The purpose of me explaining this is because Chicago and Oakland are similar cities. As we look at real estate, which we can't buy and create more of, we have to realize is that our population is increasing. And our west coast and our east coast, our coastal lines are changing. We have climate control that is just out of whack right now. And we got fires over in California, we having avalanches and everything. The Midwest is becoming the safest place to live. It is becoming the safest place to live. We got cold weather, but we don't have many natural disasters here. And a lot of big businesses are moving their corporate headquarters to Chicago and into the Midwest. So with business and with jobs come people, okay? So Chicago is growing. What I need people to understand and I want you to learn today is real estate is money. When I say it's money, honey. And in Oakland, California, right now their population is 420,000 people. Of their 420,000, and Chicago has way more people than them. 20% of their population is homeless. Now, 20% of Oakland, California population is homeless. The reason I mention that is Oakland has tent city, where you have children, kids, they have a much warmer climate. But when 20% of a city's population is homeless, it's not going well. You know, there are so many things that come with homelessness. Recently in the news, we had Chicago's tent city, where an associate of mine did such a wonderful thing. But we shouldn't have a tent city here in Chicago. Let's just be honest. But what is causing us to have tent city in Chicago is inflation. The fact that we have more renters than we have homeowners here in Chicago. And people don't understand the value of home ownership. And so I want to bring that to you and let you understand that if we as Chicagoans who are native here, who are renters here, don't start to grasp and start buying the soil in which we live on, Chicago will definitely turn into an Oakland, because where we're from is where we stay. We are not going to start migrating to different parts. It's just we're going to become more homeless. Our population is going to continue to grow because the value and the price of our land is going up and we can't afford it. That is a fact. These are not numbers I made up inside of my head. These are facts. That there are more renters in Chicago than there are homeowners in Chicago. And this is the thing. Most people often tell me, well, Lenore, I can't afford to buy. You can't afford not to buy. And this is the reason why. The prices of homes aren't going down. They're going up. One thing about home ownership is it creates stability. It creates a permanent budget for your household. Yes, lights go up a little bit. Yes, gas goes up a little bit. Yes, you'll have an incidental here and there. But as long as you have a home that you pay the taxes for, you have a 30-year fixed mortgage, you'll have a roof over your children's head. One thing about renters, and I'm a landlord, I own property, but I can promise you, the same place I rented to my tenant 5 years ago at $900, I now rent. I can't wait till she move out, because I will now rent for $1,500. I have not increased it up that $600 because she's been there. But when she moves, I will get new rent. So I like my tenants, but the long term is I want them to leave so that I can get an increase in rent. I'm a landlord. But what I try to tell her is, like, when you move out of my place, I want to move you into your own home. That is what I prepare my tenants for. You stay here 5-6 years, let me help you build your credit. Let me see where you're at. Or you can buy this place from me. But I don't want you to stay in a cycle of a transient renter. That is not what I want. Wealth and real estate, this is why they link up. Oftentimes people say, well, Lenore, I don't really own the house. I don't own mine either. Because the minute I don't pay my taxes, or the minute that I don't do something that I'm supposed to do on that property, taxes supersede anything else, and the county will come and take your property from you. And your mortgage company, it's in their best interest to cover the taxes because taxes supersede mortgages. But this is the thing you have to remember about home ownership. Not only is it a place, it's a safe place for you to have for your kids. Now, all neighborhoods in Chicago are safe, but they're transitioning. And if you become an active neighbor on your block, you can help the neighborhood transition faster. But it also is a tax write-off. People don't understand the benefit of tax write-off. But more importantly, you rent at an apartment for 5 years. So let's just hypothetically say your rent is $12,000 a year. That's paying $1,000 a month for rent for your place where you're living at. After a year, you pay $12,000 and you stay there 5 years. You've given your landlord $60,000. You have nothing to leave except for an empty pocket when you leave from that place where you rented for 5 years. If you own a home and you only stay in that home 5 years, let's say your mortgage is $1,000. That property potentially has appreciated in value, depending on where you purchase it. If it's an up-and-coming neighborhood where there's gentrification, let's say the property goes up in value $50,000. And you've paid down your mortgage, you have principal and interest, so let's just say you paid your mortgage down $20,000 over the 5 years you've been there. And it appreciated $50,000. So that means you have $70,000 in equity in that property. the $20,000 you paid it down, and the $50,000 that it rolls up. When you sell that house, minus your realtor fees, you probably made $50,000 back in profit. Renting 5 years, you leave with nothing but an empty pocket. Owning 5 years, you've made some money to invest in a new property. One thing that I teach people is that home ownership does not have to just be a house. I particularly renovate multi-units, and the purpose of that is because if you buy a 3-unit, a 2 or 3 unit, first floor is yours, second and third floor is a tenant's. You live rent free in 1 unit, and now the cash that you invested inside of a renter goes inside your bank account, and the other units, they pay your mortgage. So the same rule applies as a home, whereas you pay down the mortgage and you also had equity inside that property, potentially $70,000. Same thing applies inside of a building. The difference is the money that you have that you would have been paying a mortgage or paying rent in a multi-unit is now sliding over to your bank account. So wealth building is not, okay, I have to have a lot of money. It's about making sacrifices so that you can save for later. Insurance is a wealth building tool. And the reason why insurance is a wealth building tool is because when people pass away, it is often the living who has to sacrifice in order to pay the burial expenses of the person who passed away, because they weren't thinking enough about the people that they loved and how much it would hurt them to come up with their burial expenses. Now, I'm a little bit different. If you don't care about your death, so do I. I don't either. If you don't care about your afterlife and where you're going to rest at, neither do I. Pine box it is for you. Hot fire it is for you. That's my theory. That's me, a little selfish. I understand that. But this is the thing. For me, I cover a lot. I have a lot of insurance because I love my kids and I love my family enough to know that if something happened to me, I don't want them struggling at all to try and figure out what they're going to do with me. It's bad enough that they're dealing with the loss of me. They shouldn't have to deal with the financial burden of me either. And then at the end of the day, I don't want that. And so when you think about insurance, you have to think about wealth building because, let's be honest, it's a nice payout for them when you leave. And what better gift to give them than a nice payout when you leave? And so if my kids have $1 million policy when I pass away, I'm not concerned about dying because I know that they're taken care of. I ain't trying to leave them early, but I know that they're taken care of. And guess what? When they get that $1 million policy, I have tools set in place as to what they're supposed to do with that money. Let's just be honest. So as far as I'm concerned, my demise is going to be their come up. But as a person who's responsible, who cares about building wealth, that's it's an essential part as to what I'm leaving them. And if I set the tools up correctly, but when I die, they get their money, they get my house paid, they get all my real estate and everything else. And all of those things are taken care of as well. Because I have a policy for my house, I have a policy for my life, I have one for my business, I have insurance, and more insurance. And they're necessary tools. But home ownership is one of those things where is you investing in now for the long-term goal. You investing in it now, like you paying that mortgage every month and you just like, I like this house, but I don't like it. You gonna always have to pay for a roof over your head. The thing about home ownership is you get a return on your investment long-term, whether that means when you get ready to sell it or when it appreciates in value, you get a return, or when it's 30 years when it's paid off and you're living there not paying anything but just the taxes. My mother has her home. She has no mortgage. All she pays every year on her fixed income is her taxes. That's it. That's something for us to think about. I think, in closing, what I want to talk about is, if something sounds too good, just recently I've just been watching Facebook and I've been having all of these things, and I've just been listening to all of the solicitations, as I'll call them. something sounds too good, I tell people to use common sense. If it sounds too good, it's a good get rich quick scheme, and somebody says, well, I can make you this amount of money. I have now become to the state of show me. If you have it and you can do that, show me. And I'm back at this point because I see a lot of people who are becoming financially wealthy through people who are not doing their due diligence and people who are not being aggressive in questioning things that don't make sense. We always go by this quote of common sense is not common, but when it comes to your money, you better ask 3 times and verify 5. Because I see people that are constantly losing money and constantly getting themselves inside of things, and i.e. that is flipping, that is investing, that is business, and then they're saying, I need a bailout. Oftentimes when you've lost $50,000 already and you're trying to get me to help you to try and figure out how you're going to recoup from it, why didn't you use as much due diligence on the front part before you spent that $50,000 than now when you're coming to me as an afterthought? What I tell people is, if a person tells you that they can do something, and I'm not going to use any specific categories because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, I want to make sure that you guys do your due diligence. That is when it comes to your credit, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to investing, anything that is your personal asset. Your social security number is an asset. Your income is an asset. Your check stubs, those are your assets. If you don't want to blast it on Facebook, if you can't share it with the world, don't share it with anybody until you verify they are who they are, they can do what they say that they can do, and that they prove it to you. Oftentimes I get a lot of people saying that they can do stuff and that they've done stuff. And for me, I'm from the show me state. Show me what you've done. Show me what you can do. Prove it to me. Let me see it in black and white ink that you didn't create. And if you cannot show me, let me see, I cannot verify, I do not believe you. We are becoming a society where everybody wants something quick. I want it fast. And it gets to the point where it says, okay, where did the common sense go for everybody? It's like it's on a runaway train to no man's land because I want. We've become a very flamboyant and Greek society, just point blank. And so, with that being said, I just want people to understand that if something sounds too good, more than likely it is too good, and to use your common sense when it comes to working with people. Because sometimes things are just what they are, smoke and mirrors. And people will put up a persona. And my thing is that for me personally, I want to see people grow. And I don't want to see you grow just so you can have more stuff. I want to see you grow so that your kids can go to college, so that you have a son or a daughter that my child can marry and they're not struggling. And so that the struggle that is out here currently that is just so real starts to dissipate. Because we're at a time and a point in life where as much as we've progressed, we've degressed. And a lot of people think like we're making more money, we're doing more things, but in reality, it's more of a struggling now today than ever before because everybody has a crab in the barrel mentality, whereas I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. But people don't believe in sharing their secrets. Like for me, I'm gonna share my secret because I'm gonna tell you because guess what, Jackson? I want you to win, girl. Because when you win, you're gonna pass it on to your sister gonna win, your mama gonna win, then your auntie gonna win, and it's gonna get your parents out of the nursing home because now you have an abundance and an overflow that can now pass on to your children, your grandchildren, and everybody else. And we grow and we thrive from it. And people don't see that. They see more stuff they can get, but they don't see the ability to help more people. And although I came here to talk about wealth and real estate, and you guys can always reach out to me. Hi, Facebook, LenoreSherman@gmail.com. You can feel free to email me. I want you guys to use me as a resource. I am available. If you guys want to talk to me, I will talk to you about getting inside of real estate. I'll let you guys, I often tell people that you can come and shadow me. My favorite place to talk to a person is on a job site. I do not look like this Monday through Friday. It's always a hat, some boots, a sweater, and I am on a construction job site. This is my weekend. I'm coming out, get up, pretty girl for the day. I'll be back in my jogging clothes at about 1 o'clock. But that is how I choose to work. That's what you said you retiring at 50, my goal is 45. You know, but the idea of how do I get there? I tell people the way I'm getting there is through real estate. Because most people say, well, it's so hard. But let's just say you decide to buy a 4-unit building, you move in one of those units. You have the other 3 units that are inside the building paying the rent. That money that you be paying for your unit, if you were living in housing, you stack that money up and buy another building. And you buy another building. And you buy another building. I have a lady who's closing on a building of mine next week, and she's buying a 3-unit from me. And she says, well, Laura, I want you to mentor me. I said, this is the only thing I want you to do. When you close on this building, don't go buy a car. She said, what do you mean? I need a car. I've been waiting to buy me a car. I am sitting here. I've been stacking my money so I could buy this building, and I have been waiting to buy a car. My car is on its last leg. I said, you want me to teach you? This is the first thing I want you to do. When you close on this building next week, don't go buy a car. And she says, well, why? I said, because I'm going to show you. I want you to live here for free for 12 months. And I want you to take all the money that you've been paying. You've been paying $1,500 rent for God knows how long. She's in her 40s. I want you to take that $1,500 rent, and I want you to put it inside your savings account for 12 months. And I want you to collect your other rents, because she's buying a 3-unit, the other 2 rents, and I want you to take all the money and pay the mortgage. And she says, all the money. I said, I want you to take all the money and pay the mortgage, and I want you to pay your rent into your savings account for 12 months. And in 12 months, your realtor is going to buy you another 3 units. And with that unit, you're going to take 2 units, and you're going to pay the mortgage. That 3rd unit is going to buy whatever car you want. I'm sure it's not going to be $1,500 like you're going to get for rent, but you can buy whatever car you want. And the other half of that money that's not your car payment goes in an account for you to go on vacation. I am an advocate for going on vacation. I go on vacation nonstop all year round. But the vision that she wanted was to just get the 3 flat, live rent free inside of her building. But the vision I'm explaining to her is, if you sacrifice just 12 months, baby, you can have a car, you can have another building that's paying for itself, and you can go on vacation as often as you like, because you're going to have a whole unit, half a unit that's going to be able to pay for your vacations and your car payment. And she said, okay. She said, I'm just going to get the car fixed, and I'm going to ride it until it falls apart. And if it do fall apart, I want you to go get your used car. You are not to get a new car under no circumstances for 12 months. And she said, well, I've been saving. And I said, do you understand the idea? And I said, I'm going to show you that in 5 years, how both of these buildings, because you doubled on your mortgage payment, how your assets have grown and how you created wealth. Now, that's not any magic that I just told her. I just simply gave her a plan as to how numbers work. How she does not have to take the income that she makes from her hard work and her job and apply it toward her living. That is her car being paid by a renter. That is her housing being paid by her renters above her. So now, if I give you the tools and the know-how, how you can build wealth, guess what? These 2 buildings now that she has, they're worth $500,000-$600,000. But because she's been diligently paying down her mortgage on those buildings, she only has $300,000 that she owes. Guess what? She just built up $200,000 in equity, which is now wealth. Then she didn't do anything extra other than sacrifice 12 months of saving her rent income. That is how you build wealth. It's no magic. It's no magician unless you're a tech person bouncing the ball or something else. It's just simple discipline. It's simple discipline. Now, people say, well, you got $1 million in the bank. No, ma'am. I don't have $1 million liquid because I use my assets to make more money. But I can promise you I have $1 million in assets. Which means that when I get ready to retire, bam, there go my money. And when I die, my kids get more money. It's not a magic. It's not a magic wand. It's not a magic story. It's just discipline that creates wealth. Saving that creates wealth. Sacrifice. Like, I'm not a person who likes stuff, but when I want something, I buy it. But that's not an everyday occurrence. It might be a birthday, a holiday, or something else. Wealth comes by being disciplined. Wealth comes by making good sacrifices that are not just for yourself, but are for the long haul. I am Lenore Sherman, your real estate investment mogul. And if you guys have any questions, I'm here on the end for you. Bye, Facebook. All right, guys, that's it. Do you have any questions on these? Get to the slide.
So where else can you get like all this knowledge and all this wealth for free 99? This is just absolutely amazing. We're gonna transition a little bit, and my introduction there ties into this. So as I mentioned, I host these events for free. There is no financial gain for me in this in any way, shape, fashion, or form. Every last one of the young ladies that have come here to speak to you all, they volunteered because of their connection to me. Samara touched on this, Lenore touched on this, and Jade did too. The power of networking is your end game. You can have all of the cutest ideas, but if there are not individuals that are willing to invest in you, to partner with you, to bring those to light, they're just gonna be really cute ideas. There is not any of the top 1%. There is not any of the aspiring who can say that they've done this by themselves. And I know in our community, we live by that one man show, oh baby. That is a fallacy. Someone has to buy in and they have to support you. So I want to take a minute to bring Jasmine up from Great Lakes Credit Union because her entity supported this event and they sponsored this event. So I want to give them an opportunity to present to you guys the products that they offer too, and then we're going to switch right into the panel and we'll wrap up. Okay, come on.
Thank you. Thank you. So I wasn't expecting this, you guys, so I'm going to be very, very quick. So I just want to thank you guys first and foremost for everything that you guys have said. I'm with Great Lakes Credit Union, and mind you guys, I'm still learning too. So everything that you guys have actually spoke on today is something that's actually going to help me in the future. I'm not in insurance. My mom helped me with my life insurance. I'm 30. You know, it's just a lot that is just kind of given. So me working in the credit union, hearing about this and coming is actually, again, growth. I'm going to spread it. And again, we're all African Americans in here, and that's beautiful. I work in corporate America in Lake County, so it's very, very different. But overall, just with Great Lakes Credit Union, we have 11 locations located in Cook County, Lake County, and McHenry County. The closest one here would actually be in the Burbs, Country Club Hills. We are a full-service credit union. We have free checking accounts. We do community events. We love to sponsor any company or anybody, whether it's small or large, that is just trying to educate. That's all we're about. We're not for profit, so we don't gain anything either. You know, it's just about learning and spreading that word. So overall, I'm just very, very thankful that I even heard about this opportunity. And again, networking is all it's about, because I would have never heard about this if it wasn't through networking with someone else. So again, I just appreciate being here, and I have baggies for you guys if you want to take a couple and spread it, network. So thank you guys.
All right, ladies, if you want to come on up. So if you've actually written down questions or things that you haven't asked, I'll collect those from you. If not, we're going to continue this from a conversational standpoint so that this is an open forum. And I can test for everyone up here.
Share.
Yeah.
Look smart.
You want to pull this one?
No, I think this makes perfect and that's my dress. It's cold outside. I should have wore some pants. I'm so used to wearing dresses.
I was gonna wear a skirt. What a stretchy set.
So, very relaxed. We have about 35 minutes. So I would suggest that we leverage this time. Whatever it is that you guys want to know, from how did they get started, where are they going next, just pick their brains. Whatever possibly comes to mind, I implore you to leverage this opportunity. Yeah, you want one of them? Come on. excited and so comfortable and willing to speak at once.
I just wanted to make sure they got situated. For Lenora, actually, because you mentioned before about home ownership and just like having your own like property and having it invest back in you. I am someone that is currently a renter, and I'm definitely going to be looking into the home ownership aspect of things long term. And one thing I found like with renting that really bugs me is that they'll randomly charge, but they won't offer you anything new, but they'll like make your rent higher each
Yes.
year. And I'm like, shouldn't you be rewarding me because
No.
I'm a lawyer? And they're like, no. So like, is there a way that you can like negotiate that, or is it just like you're
No.
just there?
It's whatever I want to charge. It's my
Yeah.
place. So rents come off of what the median area income is, the median area rent is. So as we see that rental prices are increasing in the Chicagoland area, and we have more renters than we actually have homeowners, the idea is, even me as a landlord, like I don't do a huge increase to my tenants because the tenants that I have are great tenants that don't never call me, so I might do like a $25, $30 increase. But traditionally, when rents go up in an area and you have a nice place, that landlord is trying to get their max, because you have to look at it, it is an investment for us. It is not personal. Like for me, I personally like my tenants, and when I don't like the tenant, I probably will go up $100 on them because I know they can't afford it and I want them to leave. But oftentimes, it's a real estate investment for me. That rent, I live off of. So you're telling me not to put food inside my mouth because I want to give you a discount? No. So oftentimes, there's no stipulation on how much a person can sit up there and rent their unit for, especially if it's comparable to the area. That's the thing. If you actually started looking at what rents are in your area that you live in, and if they're way higher than what you're currently paying, it's okay for them to ask for it because he can say it's justifiable.
So let me piggyback that, because I know we had a conversation offline. So I want you to speak to everyone about the difference in the tenant types and how in our community especially we think that it's to come up to pick up Section 8 tenants and those that have income-based
Vouchers?
yes, vouchers. So can you speak to that, because I want you to address both sides of that coin and share some of the reality with that, so that we don't necessarily get pigeonholed into thinking that that's just what you need to do, and the why behind why that might not necessarily be the best way to go.
Okay, so what Kathy's asking me to talk about, which is subsidized housing versus market rent. So with market renting, I like to talk stand up, so I'm stand up. So with market renting, that is a person who income qualifies them to rent an apartment that has no subsidy whatsoever. So with market rent, traditionally, you have to qualify 3 times the rent amount in order to qualify for the unit. So if your unit is $1,000, you need to make at least $3,000 in order to qualify for the unit, 3 times the rent amount. With subsidy, a lot of people think that renting Section 8 is a good source of income, and it is. I have tenants that have Section 8 vouchers, and my tenants are good, but I put them under the same screening criteria that I would a traditional market tenant. The difference is that I take into account the amount of subsidy that I'm going to receive from Section 8 and add that as income to qualify them for the unit. Oftentimes, people will say, well, I want to have Section 8. Now, as a person who was an asset manager for the Chicago Housing Authority, where I worked almost 10 years, I have to explain that there's a pro and a con to being a landlord. The pro is, yes, you're going to make money if you have a good tenant. Because I've had a tenant, and I'm pretty good at screening, that I rented a unit out to them, and they were great on the front end, but it took her losing her job one time for her to become the tenant from hell that hadn't paid their rent in 12 months. That it took me 12 months to evict them. 12 months for an average person cannot afford, an average landlord can't afford for a single family house to not receive rent income. Not only that, but she tore the house up, and when she left there, I had to do $10,000 in renovation. She was the tenant from hell, you know, and on top of that, when I took her to court for eviction, she tried to countersue me. So I had to I lost a whole bunch of money. But she tried to countersue me for some stupid stuff, not for damages inside of the unit, because the unit was renovated when she moved in. She got mice because she wasn't keeping the house clean. I mean, just a whole bunch of little stuff. I ended up having to tear all the walls of the house out because she ended up having mice. And in order to to get rid of them, you have to exterminate. And often people think you're gonna call a company in and they're just gonna throw some bait down. You have to stop them from coming in, which means that I had literally opened up the walls, patched all the holes inside of the concrete, then went back with installation, drywall, tape, and mud. I put $10,000 in there, plus tore the entire kitchen out and put a new one in. Subsidized rent is good, but more importantly, the thing I explain to people is the tenant that you're putting inside the building. You have to scrutinize the tenant. My best tenants, honestly, come from homeless shelters. I'm not gonna lie to you, because one thing about people that have been homeless is that they really appreciate having a nice place to live. And like my favorite tenant, her and her kids were homeless. She didn't have no money to move in, but because I met her, I had a chance to talk with her. I knew what her ambitions were. It's not always exactly what you see on paper for why I would rent to a tenant, but getting to know her as a person, I let her move in, and she's been in there. Her kids have been off to college, and now she's in nursing school. And she's like one of my favorite tenants because she's been aggressively working and utilizing the system for the right reason. But oftentimes you have generational subsidy people who will, for years and years and years, they will use the program, and they're not progressing and not doing anything, and will tear your place up and will get their moving papers and move to another landlord's house and tear their stuff up and continue rotating around. That's the danger of being a landlord. Market versus subsidy. The thing with a market tenant is it takes them oftentimes just to lose their job, and they're not a good tenant. Not for the last 5 years of their rental history doesn't count to me because it's how they left in the end. So you got market and you got subsidy. And most people don't realize you got Section 8 subsidy, you got VA subsidy, you got Catholic charity subsidies. There are a lot of different subsidy programs that you will utilize for as a landlord. Anything else you want me to touch on?
No, that was good. Thank you very much for that. Samara, I'm gonna come down your path because you are supermom per se, right? So you wear an abundance of hats, one of which is a landlord too. And I want you to talk to the people a little bit about the managing of time in regards to that. And the realities that's associated with, business ownership. It looks grand on paper, but the reality of it is very different, although on the tail end you have those benefits. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh God. Time management is something that I work at daily. It's something that you have to constantly work at because there are so many different things in life that will pull you away from having the time that you once had, you thought you had, you desire to have, and you really have to keep your why in the forefront. You have to tell people no sometimes. If it's going to take you too far off of your goals, you're going to have to, relook at that. But I think one of the main things that I do currently for time management is that I keep a schedule. I have a pretty decent memory, as I get a little older, I be forgetting some stuff sometimes, but I think organization is key to just having everything run fluid around you. And because I am a momager, my daughter acts, we're on a Broadway track, so we do a lot of traveling and stuff like that. But I still have, a teenage son, I have a husband, I've been married almost 14 years. I have myself, I have other things that I commit to. I have 2 businesses. You really gotta keep that schedule. You can't really be flying off the wing with stuff because time is money. And I walked away from corporate in June, so I'm coming up on 8 months. So I really gotta make good use of my time because if I don't do something, if I leave something on my to-do list for the day or the week that never gets done, that's stopping the goal, right? Have the plan, always work the plan. And I do take the time to just, some days I don't do nothing. And I'm watching all my binge shows, and I'm in my PJs, and don't touch me, don't bother me, don't call me, nothing. You have to have those days, but then you have to kind of get back on the path. Then you asked about
It just
what's the other part?
more so from the how do you balance it all,
So time management,
and then
what's the last part you said?
let's kind of shift into the bad investment and how it's not all as grand as it seems on the
See,
front.
I'll be trying to push that back.
See, that's that memory.
See, that's what
As we
I'm
getting
saying.
older, it's all right.
Okay, so, oh my God, business, getting in business. Oh, we have had many conversations. Let me try to keep it PG for the people. No, you don't let stuff lapse. You don't let, you know, your fees lapse, your registration stuff lapse. I mean, down to your website, if you're paying for that monthly or yearly, again, that organization, you gotta have that schedule because you can forget to pay a thing or two. It happens to us all. And so when you're starting a business, you're gonna have to invest. You know, and so for many years, I still worked a traditional job. You know, my background is in social services, 16 years. I was still working a regular 9 to 5, still funding my dreams, still doing my business thing because you gotta have capital. You're not gonna be able to just walk in the gate, get business credit or capital. You know, you're gonna have to put so much time and money into the start of it, you know, to kind of get it going. And then once you get into business, right, because I had like, I think 2 years ago, I had like a social media manager, assistant, I had all this stuff. And that was a need at that time because my job and what I was doing wouldn't afford me to sit down and learn, so I had to pay someone to do that. But in reflection, when I had spoke earlier about when we reflect on the new year, how much we've done stuff or what we didn't do, I had been paying her, I think I had paid her like $6,000 over the year to do all of my stuff. And a situation had happened where I lost my job, didn't have enough capital to pay her, okay, being real, didn't have enough to pay her, and had to terminate her services. And I didn't want to do that, but I ain't got no money to pay her, so what I'm gonna do? We ain't working for free, you know what I'm saying? And I respect her business. She's an entrepreneur, you know, and I needed to be able to pay her. And you know what I realized, guys? Because I didn't take the time to learn what she was doing, it hurt my business. I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. I didn't know how to do what she was doing for my business. And I decided that day, there is not a part of business for me that I cannot not know about my business because it affected me. For 2 months, I had to literally sit and figure out how to do this stuff because I couldn't afford to pay anybody. And then the back part, once I did start back working to get that capital still rolling back in, I said, you know what, I don't want to be stricken with paying somebody that kind of money a month when, what if I decide to leave my job? Now the first time it was a forced leave. This time I walked because I wanted to do something different. So when I got back going, I had decided to make sure I didn't get myself into any financial commitments that should I leave my job this month, that my business would hurt again. And so I do everything for my business. And I can definitely call several people to do certain things, but there is nothing within my event planning and financial planning business that I don't know how to do. And that takes time, right? So you gotta invest that capital, you gotta invest the time, and you gotta have time management to get it together. You follow? Yeah.
This is what you were mentioning before about like knowing the business and how to run it properly and what the woman did for you before.
Yeah.
When you had mentioned before about like knowing when to ask for help, so like do you know how to do it and you still have other people doing it so that you're not spread out too thin? Is that what you're saying?
So I mean, and we're still friends. You know, it wasn't no bad blood. I'm like, girl, I ain't got no money about you. I ain't working. You know what I'm saying? We good. So there are times when if I need her to do something and I can't physically get my hands on it, she is one call away. And she still knows the operation of my business and she can go in and do what I ask. But just for me, looking at like where am I spending excess money, it wasn't that it wasn't important because what she did was it increased my visibility and brand and marketing to no end. Like I'm so happy I have the money to invest in that, but I now know how to do that. Yeah.
I have a question, well, 2 questions. One is for all of you guys.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you, I think some of you are married in relationships. My question is, how much is your partner involved in your business? Is it a joint venture? I do this apart from my partner. Are prenups involved? Like, I mean,
good. So, like, when they see you start, like, really taking off, you know, like Lenore said earlier, you gotta show me. And it's like, he took so long time, how long you gonna keep doing this? You ain't making no money, and it puts a strain, especially, you know, taking a route of just, like, leaving the, you know, I didn't leave. I got fired from that other job, and I just couldn't, I see myself, like, just finding something else, because I didn't want to work no full-time job, and then, you know, try to pursue, you know, my insurance business. I really wanted to be an insurance agent. So it was frustrating for a while, but now we're in a place where, now he has his own business that I'm helping him with, you know, and entrepreneurship is something that he looks forward to now. Like, okay, he's a very good hard worker and a provider, but now he's seeing the good stuff that comes from, you know, being an entrepreneur. So.
Go ahead, Lou. I'll say.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, I had always been in real estate. My husband, when we got married, he was just like, "Oh, you're in real estate, okay." It's something I've always been interested in. But when we got married, the economy had just took a hit. So I lost at the time, in 2008, I had lost a lot of buildings. I had lost almost about $1 million in property, just because we didn't get the Olympics. Good Lord. And I didn't know that I was buying up everything in Inglewood. Like, yep, I'm gonna have that, and it's all gonna increase in value. So when I met my husband, it was just like, I don't know. So he convinced me to get back inside of real estate, and at that time, it had just been after I filed bankruptcy. I had like a 500 credit score. My husband came home from the military. He had a perfect credit score, money saved up, and I said, okay, if we get back into real estate, everything we buy has to be cash. So while I was working at CHA, I decided that I wanted to get back in real estate, but not just as an investor, but also as a realtor. We had purchased a home and we wanted to sell it, and we realized that we were upside down inside the home. The first thing I could cut was the realtor fees. So I went and got my real estate license. I said I could sell my own house. And I sold that house, and we bought another house, and I sold that house to me. So I initially started to become a realtor so I could generate income so that I could buy these properties. We started buying properties together, meaning that he didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. He was the signer. The wife did all the business, and he was the signer. He was the financial backer of the things that we started to do together.
Exactly.
And what ended up happening is that over the years now, he has learned what I do, meaning that if I'm not available, he can actually step in to assist. But I still maintain all control because honestly, I am the person who has all the knowledge. I did years of learning. I went to years of schooling. I stayed in school with learning and tuning my craft. So I'm never out of school. I'm always learning, even though, you know, I'm a real estate investment mogul. I constantly learn so that I can teach people. But I also, honestly, he plays a back role, and he's okay with it because he's watching me drive and he see we going in the right direction. But if for some reason I'm going in the wrong direction, he tapped me on my shoulder and said, "You know you're going the wrong way, right? So we need to get back this life." And oftentimes when I be wanting to put bedazzled stuff inside the house, and he always says, "Is that gonna increase the value of it?" And if not, we ain't putting it in the house. So how much did you spend? How much is this? And because he is the husband, he's the head, I always make sure that I go back to him, because at the end of the day, if I decided not to lift a finger for another day, he still got to provide a roof over my head and food for my belly. So I always make sure that I respect him enough to keep him in the loop of what I'm going, even though I'm driving the car on this side of the business. And we are partners inside of my real estate company as well as my development company. We're partners in both of them. He's just a silent partner.
Yeah, good stuff, girl.
That's the part, keeping them in the loop. They want to
That's
know.
very important.
Especially if something go good, make sure you tell him first. Because if you don't tell him first, he'll be like, "You didn't tell me, you told everybody but me."
Oh, my husband say that all the time. Like, why am I finding out on Facebook? And I'm like, I was so excited.
Right, like I couldn't hold it in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say the biggest thing is communication, just to really sit down and really have that heart-to-heart conversation about the plans, right, and what you see, and how they feel about it, and where do they see them helping out. I you know, I was just like, oh my God, we're opening a business, you know, you married, it's we, you know, because you're trying to include them. And you don't really ask, like, do you want to participate to that highest on 1,000 level like me? Because I'm real animated and I get real excited. And so I've learned to have that conversation and find out what support they are willing and able to give so that I know how to make the moves, how I'm going to make the moves. I think one of the other things that I recently did, I just recently rebranded my business last year, and we had decided to remove him as a 50, we were 50-50 partners. And I didn't even ask him, I just, you know, I'm doing paperwork, I'm just like, you know what I'm saying, I didn't ask nothing. But it's not that he didn't want that, but I could kind of tell. And he's always the background support. Oh my God, he is the perfect silent partner. I mean, when ish hit the fan, he is there helping me pick up the pieces. We have lost money together and we have grown money together, you know. So he's there, your partner's gonna be there when no one else is, and they're going to know the things that no one else may know. But in moving forward, we decided that it's best for me to be a sole majority owner. One, just for being a woman in business, just for grant purposes, just for as our kids move towards high school and what private school may be looking like at some point, you know, just detaching that income. So that again is a sit down financial conversation about how things look. In the beginning, you want to add, but they just may not want that. And then don't get in your feelings if they say no. Because here's the spiritual part of it. The vision that God gives you is not for anybody else. And you can't make nobody have the vision that he gave you. So my vision for my business is my ministry. And it was birth, Captain talked about it, and I always forget about that back part, is that it was a hobby, it was a group. I've been a coordinator for all my life. From high school, I'm coordinating who birthday, we're going to get the balloon bouquets and the cookie cakes, and I was the one coordinating that, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So throughout my life, I've just been that friend, that go-to person, and it just translated to when I started having kids. Me and like 5 friends had kids in the same year, and we just always did stuff together. So going to events, getting them for cheap, like, man, I get a $10 ticket, we gonna sit right here. That's where it just evolved to. But that was my vision. And I can't expect someone else to have the same care and concern about what it is that God gave me. So you gotta just really keep Christ in the center of everything that you're doing, personal business, I mean just life, but definitely business-wise, because you're opening up yourself to so many different other elements and levels of leadership. Okay?
Can I just piggyback on that also? Is like one of the things that I have realized over the years, and me and my husband been married almost 9 years, is that we create a time when we talk about business. Because oftentimes you cannot, like, we do not talk about business in the bed. We don't talk about business during family time. We ain't talking about business at the kitchen table. We sit down when there's nobody else with a pen and paper, and we talk about it together at the table by ourselves. And when we're in business mode, it is not, you know what, this is how I feel. It's not feelings, it's just factual.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you separate that from your marriage in the aspect that it's not, you know, he's just asking questions because he needs to know from a business standpoint.
Right.
But also, like, you have to know if it's even his strong suit to even talk to him about it. Because like she said, her husband, she removed him from the paperwork. And I'm thinking about moving mine too. But at the end of the day, you gotta make a decision. Because if you decide you want to do something and he don't want to do it, like she said, don't take the person and say, okay. But then when you start seeing that green rolling around, you're gonna say, baby, what you doing? I'm just booking this trip to Africa with Lenore right quick. You know, so that's the thing is that I would definitely tell anybody that's getting married and is starting business that make sure that you have a business time where y'all discuss business and don't incorporate it with your personal time. We don't talk about business on date nights. We don't talk about it when it's dinner time. It's all about the family there. And we set aside like an hour when we want to discuss it, or an hour or two. Or we just simply say, can I meet you at the office so we can discuss business, and we go and discuss it there. But we definitely don't bring it underneath the roof where we gotta be happy and in love and everything else.
Yeah. Let me add one more thing to that. I think one of our other reasons why we switched let's just keep things separate, but I'm definitely going to support you. And you gotta think about, you know, like grandma, you always say, cover yourself. You know, you wanna just cover yourself. You know, not speaking anything to happen, but you know, just from being in my position, I have seen people lose it all.
Yep.
And so if you're trying to protect something, sometimes you have to make that hard decision that it's yours.
Yep.
This is mine. And on that, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna stay out of the paperwork at the, you know, and you're not speaking any of that. But you have to just be smart about your movements. And again, have that conversation that we're gonna keep, you know, you do what you do. You know, in a healthy relationship, you should always have your individual things, and then you should have your joint things. When you have everything joined, and everybody doesn't have all their hands in, you don't know how to operate, they don't know how to operate. You know, I mean, we know friends and family members that have had relationships just fall apart, and the spouse doesn't know how to do nothing. Like this is 2019, we cannot put ourselves in that position. Just stuff like I'll tell them, like, you need to know this and that about the kids. Don't put yourself in a situation where I'm not here and you don't know how to function with my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's something that as men, because, you know, men and women, we think differently, we process differently. But it's the same way. The business side and then the managing the household, they don't know nothing. Mom, go ask mom, you know, da-da-da-da. But you gotta put yourself in a position to at least have a written plan, or everybody's gonna operate in their strong suits, in their strong roles.
So we have time for one more question. Is there anything that is?
It's in the back.
Oh, then we'll take you both. So to the young lady in the hat, and then we'll take you.
So years ago, I bought my first property at 27. I can't remember how old I was when I let it all go. But it was around 2000. There was another housing issue that occurred. And, you know, over the years, I've had some financial issues to happen and things like that. So to hear, you know, how you rebounded, you know, after 2008, that was really encouraging, because I had always wanted to retire at 50. I'll be 50 in June. That's not happening. That's not happening. But it was really encouraging to hear how you rebounded, because I've always felt that I can't get back there. Of course, because I was on a journey, and I mean, I was hitting it hard. And in my case, my father was my real estate agent, and he said, look, what I need you to do is get out of these apartments. And I'm going to give you buy from me, and I'm going to give you the commission, and then I need you to take that and put it on another property. That's all I need. From there, it was on and popping, as they say, you know. And so I want to thank you for that, because you just really inspired me with that, because I just thought I'd never get there. I just said, you know, that's a part of my life. I learned from it. I know what I shouldn't have done, and now whatever. The second thing I just wanted to add was that you had mentioned with your new home buyer that you were telling her to put the $1,500 in the savings account and stuff like that. If you partnered with this young lady right here and let her drop that $1,500 in the IUL, keep it in there for 2 years, oh, now she's real powerful. So y'all need to connect on that one. Yeah, because then she was really doing something huge.
Insurance is very important. So.
Yeah, wealth management, you know, a lot of people don't understand that there's only 3 ways to gain wealth. That's insurance, that's real estate, and that's stock investment. And stock investment is really kind of volatile. So I wouldn't go that route unless you already have a lot of wealth to gamble with. So insurance and real estate is the way to grow your wealth.
Absolutely.
And if you're being diligent, like you said, you know, do your research on the front end, man, the sky is the limit. Don't ever let nobody tell you, oh, you don't make enough money so you can't get there. It's like you said, it's what you do with your money.
That's correct.
It's what you do with your money. You can't go, you know, you can't be out. Get some therapy or whatever that is. I'm gonna say them you gotta think real, you know, you can, like, I got friends who like texted me, I'm like, you ain't come to my birthday party, no, I ain't got time to buy $7 drinks, I got a bottle at the crib. You know, you gotta be real cautious about how you spend your money, right? Trying to build an empire.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
My question was, how do do you all speak to your children about this? Like, what are you all teaching them? Because I think it's awesome, you know, to be hearing about business and things like that when you're young. There are a lot of things that sometimes I reflect on. Oh, I wish my parents would talk. You know, not trying to be negative, but just thinking, oh, if I would have learned that at 10, I would have been here by now. So I'm just curious, what kind of things are you teaching your
Well,
children?
I teach at Martin Luther King Elementary School on 71st and Racine. I first started teaching with my own kids about finance and money, and for them, I teach them by saving. My son, he has, you know, his savings, his college fund, and everything. But I started teaching him to balance my checkbook years ago, and just understanding the concept of what checking is, what assets, what income is, what our bills and everything. I started teaching him years ago. First thing he did as soon as he turned 16 was go get a job. And he maintains his straight A's and goes to work 5 days a week. And this year he paid for a trip for both of his grandparents and him to take a cruise. And I told him, you save some, I'll help you with the rest. But this year I don't have to help him with anything anymore because he makes that money. And my daughter, she just understands the piggy bank. You put it in, it saves up. When you want something, you get it, but you don't never spend everything. So I teach them, but right now I'm teaching at a school because right now I teach a Money Matters is my class I teach at the school. And what Money Matters is teaching my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders what money is, what assets, liabilities are. But I've taken it a step further and started to teach their parents in Inglewood because right now they just don't understand the concept of what credit is, what money is. And for Thanksgiving, I gave out turkeys and hams to all the parents that came to my class because just to get them understanding the idea. Almost 90% of their school are renters in Inglewood where they're walking past abandoned houses and they don't understand that, you know, February is our favorite time of the year, tax season, woohoo, get all that money. And I showed them how you can take your $9,000 tax return and buy that house across the street. Okay. Let me show you how you can live for free. And, you know, CHA, even if you're on subsidy, they have a program that you can become a home ownership. You know, and I'm teaching them about that as well. But the idea is that people just don't understand it. And right now, I'm bringing financials back to the simple ABCs because people are really out here struggling. And when I tell you that I have adults as well as 6th to 8th graders that don't understand the concept of money and don't understand how to use it, why to use it. When I first got into the class, they said, what's money? I could buy me some Jordans, I could buy me some video games and everything else. And now I'm transitioning their little minds to understand that money is a tool that you utilize to get things. It is not like this grandiose, like I can buy everything I want, and then after you buy them, you don't want, what are they worth? I took a young man who had a fresh new pair of Jordans and told the young man next to him, he wanted $130 for them gym shoes. He paid $134, he wants $130, he gonna give them to you. He's like, man, I don't want them shoes. He done wore them and stuff them up. I said, but why? They worth $130. He said, they ain't worth $130 to him. I said, why not? He paid $130 for them shoes. He said, because he wore them already. I said, that's the same concept. It ain't worth what he paid for it no more, so it's called depreciation. They learn really quick what depreciation is. When you don't want to buy his gym shoes for $130, they dirty. Depreciation, baby. They ain't worth what you paid for them no more. So guess what? That $130 just flushed it down the drain. But teaching and it's educational, isn't it? It's not just for our kids anymore. It's literally for my sister, it's for my brother, it's for the person down the street. It's for the person in the damn currency exchange who don't understand that you paying them check to go, check in the cash, and get a money order. I'm teaching you too, because we shouldn't be going to currency exchange anymore. I'm sorry.
I just had a conversation with my kids actually 2 nights ago because I try to give them a little updates, you know, in terms of what mom is doing. And it's wow, this question couldn't be more timely because my kids look at me like, okay, you go mom again, you know. But I literally had this conversation and I told them, I said, mom is gonna be retiring within the next 10 to 12 years. So for the next 5 years, this is what I'm going to be doing. So I might have limited time with you based on X, Y, and Z. Because the next 5 years, I have this game plan in place that I'm going to set up my team where I can then start to pull away. And that was talking about, you know, how we have to build a network and get our team so that you getting things going. But my teenager, my son is a teenager, he is a spender. He is a kid that wants them joys and want this, that, and the third. I said, Lord Jesus, I just pray you just really have a good job in your life. Because, and he's wearing men's sizes, so he's a 13-year-old that is in a men's 9, a men's small. You know, men's clothing is not cheap. So there is an investment because of his size. My daughter is very frugal. That's my little creative. And so for both of them, they have their own accounts right now. They both will be getting their own mutual funds, which is another investment tool that I really love because it yields 8 to 12% off of your money each year. So they'll be getting their own mutual funds this month. My daughter, because she actually has a trust fund set up, so anything she makes from her acting gigs, 85% goes there, and she can receive 15%. And I usually allow her to buy something that she really likes from that little 15%. For example, she bought her some big headphones, the last little money she got. You know, because I really do want to teach them to enjoy your money, but to also save and invest your money. But learn to enjoy life. Life is too short. I told you guys I lost my mom, so you know, I kind of look at life a little bit differently than someone else because we're not promised tomorrow, and you should enjoy your money. You should enjoy trips and different things you want to do. Enjoy life. You know, it's just too short. But just be mindful about the afterlife. Do you want to just enjoy life and then you ain't left nothing for these kids? Because nobody's going to take care of my kids the way I do.
That's
right. And I can think of any family member, and all of them will love to take them in, trust me, but they don't have the funds to do to maintain my kids' lifestyle. And so that's what you got to think about when it comes to your investment and your saving and your business maneuvering is what are you doing to make sure that the ones after you, your children, your grandchildren, won't be out here.
Did you have a comment? It's not necessarily a question. I'm standing up. My name is Jessica, and I am one half of Become She. It's a podcast. We started this in Chicago about 3-4 years ago. It's for women, for brown women specifically, but we have men listeners, women listeners, and I would love if I can collaborate with anybody in this room to be a guest on the show. I would feel selfish if I'm getting all this wealth and our listeners don't hear about this. Even insurance, I'm sure hundreds of our listeners have no idea what an IUL is. I just talk about it. So I'm just gonna leave that there and could chat after this. I know you're on time. So that was a perfect segue. Thank you for that. Tell everyone how to reach you.
So I'm on all social media networks. You guys should have my cards in the bag, if not they're on the table. I am public on. You can personally be my Facebook friend. I ain't got to that point where you can't be my friend. Like that. So Samira M. Moses on Facebook, also under iHeart M3 Events and M3 Travel Services. Then you have my website as well. You guys can go on there and check out different things. My other team, I have 3 other team members. We just expanded to Atlanta last year, so we're doing some great things in Atlanta. And then of course social, Instagram is iHeart M3 Events, Twitter is M3 Events Chicago, email is m3eventchicago@gmail. I'm around y'all. Reach out.
Okay. On social media, I have 2 different platforms that I use. I use my name, Jade Cross French. I'm the only Jade Cross French in the world. So you can look up my name. My website is jadecrossfrench.com. And then also Young Gifted Hustler. We have an Instagram. Everything is spelled out Young Gifted Hustler. We can be reached at younggiftedhustler.com. You guys have my information on the top of the takeaway that I gave you, but to those that are watching, you guys can follow me on Facebook at Jade Cross French, my public page.
Okay, so I do have a public page, but I am at 5,000 friends right now. I do have a public page, and I have a business page, Lenore Sherman, Lenor. I think my middle name is on there, Devon, Devon Sherman. You can follow me on there. I do have a public page as well that you can follow as well. And I have Instagram, a Twitter, and I think that's it. You can email me, Lenore Sherman, Lenor Sherman @gmail or Hotmail. I have both of them, and I answer both. I am at 360 Realty and Development. That is my company, and my construction company is 180 Construction. And I think that's it.
And then all of you are registered, so you have all of my contact information, and then all of my pages are linked to that too. And if you didn't register, my cards are in the bag, and you have them even if you did, because I put them in there. So, ladies, I would like to thank you all for, spending your morning with us. Your time is precious, so you did not have to be here. I appreciate you. Any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, email me, let me know. This is something that is continually done. I try to bring whatever topics you guys need to you all as best as I can, as long as I can find someone. If I'm not the expert, I have no problem with finding people who do it. So reach out, tell me what works, tell me what doesn't. You can't hurt my feelings. Not sensitive about this from that standpoint. The point is to bring you the information that you need, and I can only do that if you give me the information that I need on what works. So thank you all. Be safe. Have a great rest of your day, and that's it.
Thank you.